actually been having lots of OBE VR lucid dreams lately, but it's been a couple weeks. Well, I've been having nothing but just stupid dreams lately. Well, I mean, they were still good and everything, but you know, you forget easily when you wake up or whatever. But so lately I've just been having dreams, but it was a couple weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, I had a lot of good OBE VR lucid dreams. But like I say, past few days it just had been dreams. But like I say, they're still pretty good, but just kind of hard to remember all the details, you know, because they fade away really fast. But yeah, so I waited too long again. But anyway, I wrote some of it down. Let's see. Okay, so I had this one, let's see here. The best one I wrote down, the other ones I didn't really write down. And that one, what, did I put the date on there? Let's see. I'm not sure if I did or not, but it's probably been a couple weeks or longer. But there's this one OBE VR lucid dream. It was kind of funny. It's like I was walking around the owner of Bass Pro. Like I was walking around, I don't know if it was a mansion, but it was a huge ass house. So I was walking around his house, and I talked to some people. There were some women walking around, and I don't remember the owner being there, but the women, there were some women walking around, and I was talking to them, and just like observing his house. And I was just walking along this huge ass house. And like I say, it was like it was his house. And the funny thing is, you know, I would look in one area, like in a big, or off to the side, you know, of the house. There were like all these beautiful artificial Christmas trees. Well, I mean, I guess they were artificial. Maybe they were real. I don't know. I think they were artificial. But they were all white. Like they all had that white lights and white frosty stuff on them. But there was like tons of them. And of course, when I was in the scenario, I didn't really feel like that was abnormal. But you know, after I woke up and everything, I thought, wow, that's kind of weird. But anyway, yeah. But then you know, I'd be walking along, and then there'd be I would observe another little area, and there'd be all these other things. But for some reason, I can only remember the Christmas trees. But there were a bunch of other little you know, areas. I'd look off to the side, and there'd be all these. I can't remember if it was just a bunch of like deer. What do you call it? Taxidermy deers or whatever. That may have been one of the things that I saw, but I can't remember because I didn't write it down, and it's been quite a while ago since I had this you know, this experience. But the Christmas trees I remember, so that was kind of funny. It's kind of like the alien was trying to copy off of when I went to the museum. That was kind of funny. He was copying off of that, but in the scenario, instead of going to the museum, I went to his house. And like I say, I observed all these, like, you know, big o, you know, off to the side, all these Christmas trees, and then there was all these other things, but I can't remember what it was. I think one area was a bunch of deers or something, taxidermy deers, but then there was like 2 or 3 other things, all these other millions of things that he had in one big clump, kind of like when you go to the museum and you see all the taxidermy deers and stuff. So that was kind of funny. It's kind of like the alien was trying to copy off of that, but it was kind of funny. But like I say, in the scenario, I was at his house, and there was it lasted pretty like long time. I was in the scenario for, you know, for a pretty long time. It wasn't a dream. It was like an OBE VR lucid dream. It was more real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, but it was kind of fun. And like I say, there were some women that I talked to. I can't remember who they were. And like I said, I don't actually remember seeing the owner, but it was like it was his house. So that was kind of funny. Okay, and then this other one was just I think it was after that. So about the about the technological communicator. That one was just, I don't know. Well, that was probably about a couple weeks ago. So that one's probably a little fresher in my head. But let's see. I wrote a little bit of that down, I think. Okay, went back to me. Okay, but first, I'm going to talk about the quick ones first. Well, not the quick ones, but the ones where I just remember a little bit. Well, I remember a lot, but I didn't write all the details down, so I can talk about those like quicker. Okay, so okay, went back to that. Oh, okay, yeah. So I actually went back to that mansion where I've been to many times. I went back to that mansion because I talked about another scenario where I went down in the creepy basement, and it had some. And I was walking around. I saw some like big round blow up swimming pool balls and shit like that. But so in this scenario, I went back to that mansion. And it was an OBE VR lucid dream, and it lasted quite a while too. And I was hanging out with some people, and walking along this mansion, and somebody told me they wanted to go down into that basement, and I was like, oh, you don't really want to go down there. It's creepy and blah 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 blah. And then so I had an image that ran in front of me, exactly like where it was, where the entrance was to the basement and the hallway and everything. But we were in another part of the mansion, and I couldn't ever figure out how to get back there. So then we started walking around, and I couldn't ever figure out how to get down there, down to the basement, even though I knew I had been there millions of times. And so that was kind of a cool experience. And well, that's a recurring, OBE VR lucid dream in that mansion. And the basement dilly bobber, except, it changes a little bit each time. Okay, so I had that one where I was in the big house I rented, but this time I had the bizarre one, boating. Oh, and then these other ones, I had two similar like this, like back to back. And it was after that other awesome one that I wrote down and everything, where I was in an RV slash big boat type of thing. What did I call it? RV slash well, anyway, it was both. It was like a big RV, but it was also a big boat, a big houseboat or whatever. But and these other two experiences were like after that, and I had that similar boating thing in it. And but anyway, I don't know. It's like I was standing in some house or something, and it was a strange house, and I was like arguing with my mom, and I wanted to go boating again, and my mom was saying, well, like we're not going to leave till like 2:30 a.m. in the morning. And I was like screaming and arguing like the aliens were making me real mad, because sometimes they'll make you really mad. And I was screaming and arguing, and I was like, how the heck am I going to go, that early in the morning when I got to be at work at like 8 o'clock, you know what I mean? I knew there's no way I could go, if they're going to go at 2:30 in the morning. Because by the time you get there and everything, it's going to be 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And I was just like really mad and blah, 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 blah. And then, like I say, there was another one similar to that I had. And both those scenarios were after that other one I'm about to talk about. But I was like really mad and like yelling and screaming, because I knew, like deep down, I couldn't really go at that time, But anyway, it was a lot longer than what I just said or whatever, but I didn't write it down or anything. But this time it was like a huge... Okay, hold on. Okay, and then this other experience... okay, which one? And I had about a week ago. Another repeat where I was in that... Oh, yeah. And this was a repeat. Remember I said I had this other experience where I was in that big house that I rented and had a bunch of rooms and crap, and my Aunt Susan and my grandma was in it. And then I told you there was a room, and I looked in there, and it was kind of like frozen in time. The landlord guy that owned the house, that was his office, and he had like a cashier on, a cashier on, is that what it's called? Yeah, cashier on the table. Not a table, a desk. And then he had, like a bunch of money in the cashier and everything, and then he had like the leather chair or whatever. And I looked in there, and I can't remember what I was thinking, but it's in that scenario that I did, or that video that I did. Okay, so in this scenario, I went back there, except this time it was like, and this was a really fun scenario too, and this was about a week ago, and but this time it wasn't a house. This time it was just a huge apartment that I had rented. And so I went back there. It was a huge apartment that I had rented, but it was very similar, to that house. It was like it was like a recurring, OBE VR lucid dream, except there was a lot of changes in it. Later on, I had a sexcapade. Later on, I got laid in that apartment. But it like started off. Okay, so I went back to this old apartment that I had rented, and it was huge, and it started off where I was in the kitchen, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this kitchen, and then over to my right was another smaller kitchen, and I was like, oh yeah, that kitchen I never really used, I never really needed it, and I know where the alien got that from, because when I went to buy houses a long time ago, I went to this one house, and I did think it was kind of cool, though, how it had 2 living rooms. I thought that was kind of cool. That house had really bad energy in it. But yeah, I thought that was a little cool, because it had like 2 living rooms. And then it had the small kitchen to the right of that other living room. So I guess one of them was probably like a family room, and then the other one was a living room. And I think the alien, that's where they got that from, kind of, putting the 2 kitchens in this scenario. But anyway, it was kind of funny when I did go look at that house in real life back in 2011. Even my mom said something about it later on. She's like, that one had bad, energy in it. And I was like, I know, because I didn't know if my mom felt it or not, but it did. And I never bought the stupid thing either. And so anyway, in the scenario, I was in the kitchen that I always use, and like I say, over to the right was like an old, like a kitchen, but just like not a lot of stuff in it, because I never like used it. I only used the other one that I was standing in, and but there was a real funny part. Okay, as I looked, so I was standing there in the middle of the kitchen. I kind of walked to my left, and I looked straight ahead, kind of up a little bit, and there was a cabinet. And this was like hilarious. Okay, so like the left and right cabinet, it was like covered in some kind of fur. I mean, that's what I meant to say, fur. And it was real soft. And like I said, I know the alien got that from, when we went to the museum and saw all those animals, the furs and stuff on the animals. And so that was kind of funny. It was kind of like dark brown fur. Like, I don't know if it was of a bear, but it was covered in fur, both cabinet doors. And above was antlers that was like glued, like glued or hammered or whatever, all above the cabinet doors. And so that was kind of hilarious. And I was in the scenario. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking. Oh yeah. So in the scenario, I was thinking like that Bass Pro owner had kind of renovated that kitchen. That's what I was thinking in the scenario. Okay, so then I went on down the hall to the left, a big hall, and over to the right again was that what was that room. I opened the door, and it was that same room, like where the landlord had his little office when he owned that house. But in this scenario, it was like an apartment. But it had that same room, and it had the cashier and the money in it and everything, and it was just kind of like frozen in time. And then I went on down the hall, and I opened up this one room, and this guy started screaming at me. He was a tenant, he started screaming at me, and he was playing like loud music and shit. It almost sounded like heavy metal music or whatever. And then, okay, and then after that, that's when this other person came into the scene, and eventually the person told me that we were related. And I know where the alien got that from too, because there was this guy up the street, and his name was Clint Huff, and somebody said we were related to the Huffs. And in the scenario, but and two, it was funny because I was questioning the person, like, well, how can we be related, and blah 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 blah. And then the person said, the last name, it was like Huffington or something like that, like Huffington. And I was just like, how could we be related, and blah 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 blah. But anyway, and the person was married and everything. I can't remember where the other person was, but or at least they were once married. I can't remember if they were married. As far as I remember, they were married in the scenario, but the other person wasn't there. Okay, so and it's so fucking bizarre because, like, in the scenario, the person looked so familiar and everything, and of course now I can't think who the hell the person was. You know what I'm saying? I can't think of who the alien was trying to copy off of. Well, it's probably Joel that gave me this experience. Like, I don't know, but most likely. And so anyways, so then, and the person wore glasses too. And it was kind of slender, kind of had lightish, very light brown hair, light brownish, blondish, not blonde, but very light brownish. And like I don't know what you call that color. It wasn't really brown. I don't know, just very light color, but it wasn't blonde. And so anyway, and this was kind of funny. So we had sexual relations in the scenario, and so we went off into this room. It was just a very small room, and the bed. And this is so hilarious, because the aliens know. In the past many years, all my beds have just kind of been low to the ground, because, like, I lived in apartments and stuff, so I didn't mind sleeping right on the ground, on two mattresses or whatever, a box spring and a mattress. And, so many times I had my bed and the box springs on the ground, because I didn't, it takes up a lot of room when you try to put it on a base, a foundation, or whatever it's called. And so in the scenario, and in my bed in the other room, it just has two futon mattresses on the ground. And in the scenario, it was almost kind of like it was one futon mattress on the ground, and the aliens know that other room in the front bedroom, that when I lay in it, you kind of sink down in the middle. Well, because futon mattresses, that they don't have the wires in them or whatever, or the springs. And then, and that's why I put boards. I put boards in between the two mattresses, and then it became like really, really, really comfortable. Because if you start sleeping like that for a long time, where you're kind of caving in the middle, it starts hurting your back. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I'm probably gonna have to get rid of those mattresses, but yeah, that really made it feel more comfortable by putting the those three boards in the middle of the two futon mattresses. So in the scenario, the alien was copied off of that, because as I laid down, I kind of like sunk in the middle, and I'm like, wow, this is gonna be uncomfortable. But anyway, it was a fun experience, man. And so that was kind of funny. The alien was copying off of that, my beds in the front room. Well, and then in the back room, you kind of sink in a little bit too. But it's on, bed and a box springs and everything, and the bed actually has springs and stuff in it, I think, or the mattress, I think, does too. But I put real soft cushion. So anytime you put a real soft cushion on top of the bed, you're still gonna it's gonna feel like you're sinking down a little bit, like in the middle or whatever. But that was kind of hilarious. That was a fun ass experience, man, and that was about a week ago. Okay, so person eventually, and the last name, rented, but like I say, in that other scenario, it was actually a big house that I had rented with all these rooms, and I couldn't understand, like, why would I rent this house? I didn't need all these damn rooms, you know what I'm saying? Want to go down the creepy store, Home Depot, technological communicator. Okay, then I'll talk about the technological communicator experience. That was like a couple weeks ago, maybe even a little bit longer. And I didn't write it down, but I remember all of it, but a lot of it, like, it turned sexual. So I can't really say, like, a lot. And Joel gave me this one, I have no doubt. Let's see, I like to put him in the picture if I know that he gave me some of the experiences in the template. I think I put him in there. Yeah, I did, because I know he gave me this experience with the technological communicator box. Cube, it was called the technological cube. It was called a technological communicator. So when I woke up, that's why I wrote it down, because I wanted to remember exactly what it was called. So in the scenario, it was called a technological communicator, but it was a glass cube, about 7.5 inches all the way around, width and length and everything, 7.5 inches, or maybe 8, but 7.5 or 8 inches all the way around. And it was called the technological communicator. But the funny thing is, okay, so it started off, I was standing there in a house, and I don't really know, I guess I was supposed to be in, like, my parents' house or something, but in the scenario, it was very, very, very different. I'm not sure what house I was supposed to be in, but I was in a house, and I was standing there, and then my brother comes up, and he's holding this technological communicator cube, and I was looking at it, and I was just like, wow. And he was asking me how to use it, and basically it knew everything. You just asked the questions, and I started asking it, like, what's the weather, and it started talking. It was like a female electronic voice. It was very precise and very clear, but you could still tell it was kind of like a robot. But it was a female voice, and it would be like, I was asking it some more questions too, but I can't remember. But I think I asked it what the weather was, and then it started talking. And inside this clear cube, it was all glass and everything, and inside it, you could see all those, like, little, no. Inside of it was, let's see, what was it inside? Actually, I can't remember exactly what it looked like on the inside, but on the kind of, like, outside of it, the perimeter of it, I do remember. On the inside and outside, it had all these little goldish knobs that you, like, turned and stuff. So that was kind of funny. Like, all around the perimeter was all these little precise little knobs, and then in the middle of it was, like, all these other knobs, and some of them were, like, silver. And like I say, the whole cube was like glass. And so my brother was asking me, like, how to use it. And then when I looked at my brother, this was hilarious, because when I looked at my brother, I noticed he looked like he gained about 50 pounds. He was very stocky and very, he was much wider, and he's really not like that in real life. In the scenario, it's like he was, like, fatter and wider, and he had on, like, a V-neck white t-shirt. And he also had some necklaces on. And and then, like, he had a bunch of jewelry on, some bracelets, and then he had some necklaces, which is kind of funny because the aliens know I wear a lot of jewelry like that. And but that was kind of hilarious. But I didn't see his face. But it was my brother. But I didn't, like, the alien didn't show me his face. But it's like, and he looked kind of sweaty. But he was, like, really wide and kind of fatter, you know what I'm saying? Stocky, but in real life, he's not like that. So that was kind of hilarious. Okay, so then it went on to another part of the scenario, and it got kind of sexual and everything. And, but anyway, there was this funny part with a little tiny boot with dirt all over it. It had, like, mud all over it, this little tiny boot, like, old boot. Well, no, actually, it was like a brand new boot. Yeah, that's right. It was a brand new boot. But and it looked like it was brown leather, but it had like, it was kind of funny because it had mud all over it, like dirt, like dry dirt. And because I think the alien was copying off of, you know, when I go outside and stuff and the dirt gets stuck to my shoes or whatever. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, there was a lot of sexual stuff. But anyway, but there was that little bitty boot in the scenario. That was kind of funny. Let's see. Let me look at the other stuff. Okay, I put that in there. The boot. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's the end of that. I remember all the other stuff, but I just can't say anything else because it was like all sexual and shit. Okay. So anyway, so then now this I'm getting to a really good one now. And like I said, I had this experience probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay, let me see if I said everything. Back to the mansion. It was the owner of the passport. Another repeater. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to talk about the other one that I wrote down. Okay. Okay, so this was May 20. Yeah, see, I knew it had been probably quite a while ago. It had almost been, it had been almost a month ago, actually. This was 3 weeks ago, actually. Well, a week shy of being a month, but this was May 26th. Okay, June started as I was... Okay, so at first, the OBE VR Lucid Dream, my scenario, started out, I was in a huge RV that was also able to float, aka, you know, it was also part boat. It was part RV and part boat. I was with a familiar family. The woman, I remember her face and everything. She was like a friend or an aunt or something. The husband was there and 2 kids at least. There was a husband and 2 kids. And I can't really remember who the woman was. She was like an aunt or a friend, but she was very familiar looking. Okay, so so I was walking around and you know, we were talking, and that scene went on for a long time. Then as I was walking around the kitchen / living room over there in the RV / boat, I saw one of those huge soft sugar cookies that I used to eat at Barnes & Noble's, and I loved them. I only saw one, and it was even larger than the huge ones at Barnes & Noble's, but it was not as round. It was kind of more squarish. And it was sitting on the counter near the microwave, and I was thinking to myself, I want to go snatch that last one up before anybody sees me. Okay, it almost seemed like I was in Rockport, Texas, at least in this part of the scenario. But those words wasn't programmed for me. Anyway, I was on a fun vacation though, and I knew that. So basically I was on vacation. And like I say, I did have a lot of conversations with the woman and everything. Okay, so the second part, so after I got done, the second part I was done. Okay, I was done with the vacation, and the scene changed to basically, I was placed in a grocery store / like a Lowe's or a Menards or whatever. It was not 100% grocery store. It was like a small Lowe's and or drugstore, and also part restaurant. So it was kind of like halfway grocery store and drugstore, and it also was part restaurant, and it was also part kind of like Lowe's or Menards or whatever. This scene I was in for like 4 hours, waiting to get my $6 back. It seemed forever. I mean, in real life, I wasn't really, I mean, in 3D time, I wasn't really in the scenario for 4 hours, but actually, in the scenario, I was in it much longer than that. But, I don't know, why did I say 4 hours? Well, anyway, I would have been in the scenario in non-3D time way longer than that. But anyway, the scene, I was in it for like 4 hours waiting to get my $6 back. It seemed forever. I know why the aliens gave me the scenario. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. So anyway, start up. Okay. Okay, I know why the aliens gave me this, or at least the cashier person that wouldn't give me my $6 back. I felt like in the scenario that that the alien was trying to copy off of this woman that was monitor or whatever you call it of the Daryl Sims support group. Yeah. So anyway. The woman that was like, she was giving me a hard time in the scenario, would it give me my $6 back? I felt like that was, but I don't know what that woman looked like. But anyway, I know why the aliens gave me the scenario. Carol made me mad from the Daryl. Oh. Anyway, that's what I felt like, in the scenario. That was the mind thought or whatever. Because she had made me mad, in the Daryl Sims support groups. Because all these motherfuckers, they have agendas, and if you don't fucking talk about what they want to talk about, they boot you off, and that bitch made me so fucking mad. Because they kicked me out of that support group. I get kicked out of all fucking forums, but I'm gonna make up my own fucking forum. It'll be for nothing but people exactly like me. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, it started out, I walked around the store, and I bought 6 bars of soap and 2 tiny small batteries and one other thing, but I can't remember the other thing was. I bought those 2 tiny small batteries that were like short and kind of fat. I had them all in a bag. I looked in the bag and I saw all items, and I saw the 6 bars of soap. It all cost $13.48. I walked to the cashier and I handed the cashier a $20 bill. And this was the person where I felt like it was that person in the Daryl support group or whatever, that Carol or whatever her name was. So this is where it all started, and I was pissed off for hours. She handed me back, she literally handed me 50 cents, 2 quarters. I'm like, where is my $6? I didn't care about the 2 cents. I just wanted my $6 back. Yeah, so she was supposed to give me like $6.52 back, something like that. And she only gave me 2 quarters back. So anyway, I didn't care about the 2 cents. I wanted my $6 back. All these scenarios that I have are very, very vivid, by the way. Like when I looked in the bag and I saw the 6 bars of soap and batteries, etc., etc. And the cashier, who looked about 60 years old, she was female with short, reddish, curly hair. She handed me the 2 quarters, like I literally looked down and she handed me the 2 quarters stacked upon each other. And she laid them right down in my hand, my right hand. It's all very vivid and very physical. I looked down and watched her place the 2 quarters in my hand, and she gave them to me stacked up, like I said before. Okay, so from here on out, I did nothing but cuss and argue at the patrons and the workers and the cashier, and eventually the male general manager. I stood there the whole time at the cashier for at least 4 hours. And at 4 p.m., I still had not had my $6 back. I will get to that later. The cashier was taking up too much of my time when I had shit to do. And we kept having specific conversation as to why she couldn't seem to give me my $6 back. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was like, just get in there and get it. And she would make excuses or give me the runaround. I was calling everybody dumbasses. I was like, you're a dumbass. And this all went on for hours and hours and hours and hours. Eventually, I saw my old volleyball coach walk in behind me. She was going out the door. I hadn't seen her in years in real life, and I hadn't seen her in years. I hadn't seen her in years, even in the scenario, and in real life, I hadn't seen her in years. In the scenario, she looked skinnier. She looked like she had AIDS, and she looked older. And her head, her head looked very small. And I did have AIDS on the brain that day before the scenario. I had AIDS on the brain the day before the scenario. And also the aliens made me buy 6 bars of soap because in real life, I buy about in real life, I buy about that many or 6 packages of burgers. Like in real life, I'll buy 6 packages of burgers or 6 bars of that fucking Kirk soap that they say. Okay, so anyway, so I did have, I did have AIDS on the brain the day before the scenario. I forgot what I was listening to or whatever. And also the aliens, like I said, made me buy 6 bars of soap because in real life I buy about that many burgers, packages of meat, or 6 bars of soap, like on Walmart or whatever. 6 bars of that fucking Kirk soap. Okay, so anyway, I sort of signaled to her like, hey, can't you come stick up for me or something over here? She was like, no, and flubbed me off, and I walked out the door. I wanted her to come stick up for me like, this bitch owes me $6, you know what I'm saying? She was like, no, and flubbed me off, and I walked out she was like, no. I was like, anyway, I sort of signaled to her like, hey, can't you come stick up for me or something over here? She was like, no, and flubbed me off and walked out the door. She didn't have anything in her hands, but she had already been shopping, and she was just like, when I looked back behind me, she was just walking out the door. And then, okay, the round clock was above that door. Then I saw, okay, so I'll get to that later. The round clock was above that door. Then I saw a gay guy also come along after her, and I called him a fag. I was mad at everybody at this point because the lady was screwing with me and would never give me my $6 back. So anyway, we still proceeded to get my I still proceeded to get my $6 back, and I started calling everybody dumbasses again, especially the cashier. And this isn't the first time the aliens always like try to make me mad and shit in my scenario. Okay, so then I told her I want to see the general manager. She went and got him, and he wasn't any better helping me out. This is when the cashier, and there was other young men and women workers standing around too. This is when she said, oh, well, show me the receipt that I owe you $6. And I said, I don't have the receipt, dumbass, because you never gave me the receipt since you didn't complete my transaction and give me my $6. And I looked over at her hands and the boss, and I saw the white receipts poking out of the machine. So I was proving to them that I never got the receipt because one of those should have been my receipt, but it was still stuck in the thing or whatever, the cashier or whatever. And the general manager kept siding with her. Then I was getting madder and madder, so I reached over there and I opened up the cashier box myself. I reached over there and opened it up. And there was no money in there. Like they had totally taken all the money out or something when I wasn't looking. Or when I had my back turned, when I was looking at my coach and I was like trying to signal to her, come over here and help me out, but she flubbed me off. The aliens do that a lot. Like I'll want somebody's help. Like how do I get, I'll ask for direction and then they just flub me off. The aliens do that all the time in my scenarios. And then I'm lost all the time. So anyway, so that's what the deal was. When I wasn't looking or had my back turned, they took all the money out. So then I looked up at the clock and it said straight up 4 p.m. And I was like, wow, this is taking up too much of my time. As I have been here for hours arguing. And I finally left since I had visions in my brain that I knew I wanted to go to the pond and see the turtles before I went home. But I saw the pond and street, to my neighborhood before I left out the door, and I never got my $6 back. Like I already had visions, flash in front of me of the pond and my neighborhood and everything. And I knew I wanted to go look at turtles or whatever. And like I said, I never got my $6 back. But before I left out the door, I looked back and there was a guy sitting at the table eating at the cafe. So like I say, this was also part restaurant. But I'm trying to remember, how did I know that it exactly cost $13.48? I'm trying to remember how I knew that. It all cost, I worked it. Well, anyway, because in the scenario, she was supposed to give me back exactly $6.52. That's how the aliens programmed it for me. I know it's kind of hilarious. I don't know how they came up with that number, but they programmed it for me. $6 and 50. I was supposed to get back $6.52, and she only gave me back 2 quarters. But I didn't care about the other 2 cents. I just wanted the other $6 back. So then, if you subtract that, my whole transaction was $13.48. There was a guy sitting at a table. Yeah. So anyway, it was also part restaurant. And as far as I remember seeing the cafe, when I was turning around, looking around, when I was arguing with the cashier, I remember seeing the cafe, but nobody was there at that time. But at the end of the scenario, I saw a guy sitting there eating at the cafe. Like the cashier was, the little cashier stand was to my left. I was standing there facing left and over to the right. That's when the volleyball coach walked by, and then back behind me to the right, that's where the little cafe was. And that's where the gay guy started walking down, going out the door too. But I was real mad, and I was calling everybody names, you dumbass, you're a fag. Because the aliens know, they like to make me mad in my scenarios. Okay, and then there was this other part that I forgot to say, so I said it at the end here. Okay, and there towards the last, before I walked out the door, I saw that, that it was 4 p.m. Okay, so somehow in the scenario, I knew this all started around noon. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said 4 hours, that I knew I had been there 4 hours, but it apparently started. Yeah, it did. That the aliens kind of programmed that for me, like as if I was going in on my lunch break or something shopping, and that would have been around noon. The aliens kind of programmed that for me, but I didn't write it down because I forgot to write that part down, and like I say, it was 3 weeks ago, so I had forgot that part. But that's how I came up with the 4 hours, because it was kind of like I was on my lunch break and I went shopping. I just remembered that part. And like I said, when I left out the door, it was freaking 4 p.m. So we were arguing that long to try to get my $6 back. Okay, so, and there towards the last, before I walked out the door and saw that it was 4 p.m., as I was standing there at the cashier, I looked down at the plastic bag that my items were in, and I saw that the store, it kind of like had 2 business names. It had a name written on the bag, 2 company names, circled kind of like the Old Navy name. Like the Old Navy store, it's circled in an oval. On the top, it said something like Depot Store, and it was encased with a circle. Several inches underneath, it said something like the Home Store, and it was also encased in a circle. And I thought I wrote down the color of the bag. I thought the bag was a certain color as far as I remember, and the circles was kind of like light blue. The letters I think were like white. And but I totally forgot what I actually said. But I was thinking. I totally forgot what I actually said, but when I looked at both of the names, because I was mad, I was still mad, I was like, wow, what a dumbass name. I do remember that part. Then, those don't even sound, okay, this is what I was thinking after I looked down at those 2 business names. I was like, wow, what a dumbass name. Those don't even sound like a grocery store, LOL. And anyway, because I was cutting down the store and everything, because they wouldn't give me my $6 back. But the thing is, the whole store was not a grocery store, like I said before. It was part grocery store. And also, the bags were that thick plastic, not like Walmart bags, that thin plastic. In the scenario, these bags were like that thick plastic, kind of like you get when you go to like some of these department stores, like the Old Navy store. They'll give you like a thick plastic bag, you know what I'm saying? So that was kind of hilarious. And I think that's it. 2 company names. But anyway, I should have wrote down immediately, because when I woke up, those 2 names, I probably would have remembered if I would have wrote down immediately those 2 names. But then I let too much time go by, and I couldn't remember exactly what the 2 names were, but it was similar to like Depot Store and the Home Store. And I was like, wow, what a dumbass name. But it was a trip, man. It was a fun experience, though. Thanks for listening.